Welcome to Quick Start video number 1. In this particular workout, we're going to be looking at some of the quintessential exercises that I refer to in many of the other workouts in the Be Well Fit program. We're also going to learn some really specific terms that I also use to help you think about how to use your body in particular exercises. Things like neutral spine, articulation, or a diaphragmatic brace. These are terms that I use quite a bit in every workout, so they get repeated a lot. So don't worry if you don't get them right away, but we're introducing them in this very first video, this Get Started series, so that we can start to develop some of this knowledge right off the hop. Let's begin. We're going to start lying down. We're going to lay down on our back, and very often when I say or encourage you to lay down on your back, I'm going to ask you to think about having a neutral pelvis and have your knees bent. Typically, if we lay down and we immediately want to put our legs to straight, it's difficult for many people to lay down in a neutral position with their pelvis. Very often when we're laying down, it's just with knees bent, which should feel quite comfortable on your lower back, hopefully. We're going to place our hands on our lower ribs and begin our diaphragmatic breathing. Inhaling through the nose and getting our belly to fill with air. Stretching out through our diaphragm maximally, and then slowly letting go of the air, letting the shoulders rest down and letting the belly rest. It's an inhale to fill up the rib cage. And an exhale to slowly let the air go. We're trying our very best to stretch our belly out as much as we can. 2 more breaths just like that. Also feeling the rib cage expand on that inhale. 1 more time. And letting it go. We're going to place our hands down by our sides, thinking of elevating the shoulder blades with the inhale now. So as we inhale, we're going to draw the air into our belly, but also feel the breath fill all the way to the very top of the rib cage. And on the exhale, we're going to slide our hands down the mat and pull the shoulders down away from the ears, really connecting with the muscles underneath our armpits. It's an inhale to slide the arms up the mat, elevating through the shoulders or elevating through the shoulder blades. On the exhale, we're pushing our shoulders down away from the ears and stretching down to the end of the mat. 2 more times. Inhale to elevate and exhale to stretch. Really reach, connect under the armpit. 1 more time, inhale to elevate. And exhale to stretch all the way down. When you're stretching down here now, I want you to plant your hands, keep your arms stretching, and just gently press your hands into the floor and feel the connection through the back of your shoulders and through the middle of your back. From here, we're going to do a hip roll. It's an inhale to prepare. On our hip roll, we're going to try and tilt our pelvis first. So rolling through the pelvis, which will cause us to flex through the lower back, and you'll feel your lower back come in contact with the mat. From there, you can continue to roll the pelvis like you're drawing your pubic bone up towards your belly button and start rolling up through the spine. Once you get to about the tip of the shoulder blades, you can stop. You should be as elevated through the hips as possible without allowing your knees to flare. Take an inhale here in this position. On the exhale, we're going to hold the hips up. You're going to press your chest away. Think of sliding your ribs down your body to flex through your mid-back, then flex through your lower back and roll your pelvis away to a neutral position at the bottom. When we do this motion, which we're going to do 4 times, you're thinking about articulating through the spine. By articulation, what we're saying is you're trying to move the spine segmentally. So pressing, almost like you're pressing 1 vertebra at a time into the mat. It should feel like a fluid motion through the spine. Hopefully not moving with large segments at a time, although it's not uncommon if you do. Make sure at the top you're really maximally lifting the hips, but you're not throwing your body up through your ribs. The ribs are down. You're lifting through the hips primarily. Drop the chest down, articulate through the spine, releasing the pelvis at the bottom. 1 more time. Inhale to prepare. As you roll up, make sure you're putting a little bit more weight in your heel than you are in your forefoot, just so we get more connection through the back of the legs. But do make sure you can feel your big toe on the mat so you know that you're not excessively rolling out through your knees. Okay? Inhale at the top and exhale, rolling down, really flexing through the spine. flexing through the lower back and releasing the pelvis at the bottom. From here, we're gonna go into straight hip lifts or a bridge, which means that we're gonna hold our pelvis in neutral. We're no longer gonna articulate, so no rolling of the pelvis this time. You're just gonna push your feet into the floor, activate through the hips, and lift straight up. Now at the top, I do encourage you to try and tuck the pelvis slightly to try and keep in a more neutral position, and then release back down, almost like you're leading with the tailbone. So when you land, you maintain a slight arch between your lower back and the floor. So when you lift up, it's just your hips lifting directly, driving up lots of back of the body activation. Again, you're gonna feel a little bit your lower back and a little bit your hips, keeping the pelvis really tucked. And when you lower down, lead with your tailbone. One more time. We're going to lift, really squeeze through the hips, press the feet into the floor, feel your big toe, and lower straight back down. Okay, we're gonna activate through the core now for a heel slide. And we're gonna activate using the breath. So I want you to take a really nice big inhalation, hold the stretch of the diaphragm and brace through your abdominals as you lift your right toe to slide your right heel down the floor, and nothing in your abdominals should change. So your pelvis shouldn't rock away from you. Your lower back should not raise away from the mat, but nor are we crushing it to the mat. You just feel like you have your pop can brace turned on and slide it back in. We're gonna go the other side, lifting your left toe, holding your pop can brace, sliding your left heel down the floor, and sliding it back in. One more time either side. We're gonna slide the right heel down the floor. Nothing changes in our pelvic position, and slide it back in. And the last one here, we're gonna slide it away. So this is just holding our pelvis in a neutral position, not tucking and not excessively arching through the lower back. If we can now, we're gonna try and do that same brace position as we lift the legs into tabletop. We use tabletop a lot in our mat-based exercises in Be Well Fit, and what we're referring to is a 90-degree position of the hip as well as the knee with both legs. We're gonna prepare by taking a breath. Stretching the diaphragm, stretching our belly, bracing, and then lifting one leg to tabletop, and then the second leg's gonna come up to tabletop. The knees are gonna come together, and nothing has changed in our torso. Again, our lower back has not moved away from the mat, but nor are we crushing it to the mat. We have no tension in the upper body. That's really key here. There's a tendency to hold tension. We're just gonna hold here for 5 more seconds, being able to breathe as we maintain our brace here. So we still wanna be able to take in a nice long breath and hold the stretch of the diaphragmatic breath as we hold the brace, but still exhale. And releasing one foot at a time down without tipping the pelvis, and the other foot down. Okay, again, we're gonna take a nice big breath. No tension in the upper body as we brace. Lift the opposite leg now leading up into tabletop, and then the second leg, holding the inner thighs together. The knees are gently squeezing together, just holding this position for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and releasing one foot down and the second foot down. Okay. From here, we can come off the mat in a couple of ways. You can roll to the side and help yourself up with your hands, which is really common. If you're able to, you can grab behind one knee and just rock a few times until you come up to sitting. We use tabletop legs quite a lot in mat exercises, but I want you to know it's not uncommon that it can be quite a tiring position to hold. It's really, really frequent that people will just take a little break, have their legs rest down, regain a little bit of endurance in their abdominals, and then pop back up into it again. The abdominals are endurance muscles, so sometimes they just need a little break, and then you can get straight back into it again without having taken much rest at all. Okay, next up we're gonna go for cat stretch. We're gonna go into the 4-point position. We wanna make sure that the center of our shoulder joint is stacked directly over the wrist. I encourage a really wide spread of the fingers. Even stretching our fingers can feel difficult at the beginning of a mat-based program when you're on your hands. Center of the shoulder joint over the wrist, and similarly, center of your hip joint over the knees. The tendency is to wanna sit back in our hips. Typically, we want to release the pressure off of our hands, so you have to encourage yourself to come forward and work on stretching the wrists. It can be really more comfortable through the wrist if you slightly rotate your crease of your elbow forward. Now, when I do this, people often think that they have to turn their hand to the side for the crease of the elbow to come forward, but actually you can rotate the arm in the shoulder joint so that the crease of the elbow faces forward. So, cat stretch. Again, it's articulating through the spine or moving segmentally from tail to head with the breath. So we begin by taking another diaphragmatic breath. This time when you breathe, I want you to focus pulling the breath into your lower back. You're gonna take a nice big breath. On the exhale, you're gonna start to tip the pelvis. Imagine your tailbone pulling down towards the back of your knees as you tuck the pelvis. You're gonna flex your lower back, then the ribs are gonna lift up to the sky, stretch out through the shoulder blades, and finish by looking down in between your knees. Hold this position and focus on your back breath. So because we're compressed in the front when you breathe, you're gonna focus on directing the breath throughout the back of the ribs. And then at the end of the breath, inhale, you're gonna hold for a second and then start to exhale and move the pelvis back into a neutral position, lengthen through the spine and drop the shoulder blades down your back. So unlike yoga, in our particular series, which is Pilates based, we only come back to a neutral spine as opposed to a fully arched back position. Just neutral is enough. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, start to curl the pelvis. Flex through the lower back. Imagine drawing your belly button up towards the ceiling. Push through the ribs. Stretch through your upper body. Hold for a breath. And kick your tailbone back to neutral. Lengthen through the spine. Shoulder blades down. 2 more with the breath. Last one. Into neutral. All right, from here we're going to turn into a side sitting position. We're going to do the side bend exercise, which has 2 really great aspects to it. 1, we get to laterally flex the spine, so side bend the spine. And 2, it opens the hips, and it opens the hips by activating through the deep lateral rotators of the hip. So it feels like a great groin stretch, an activation through your hips, as well as the lateral flexion of the spine. It's one of my favorites, so I hope you like it. You're gonna bring your feet into a Pilates stance. Your top bent knee foot is flat on the floor and facing towards the end of your mat. Your other foot is tucked in behind it. That's a bit of a weird setup, and it takes people usually a few attempts to try and figure it out. You then don't want to be sitting too close to your feet, and you want enough space where the bottom knee is able to meet the mat, because we're going to roll up onto that knee, so you want a nice soft landing for it. Your arm is stretched out a little bit away from you, and you're lifted out of it nice and tall, so we're not sitting or collapsed into the shoulder. We're going to use this top hand to pull this knee open, so we're actually trying to make as much space between our knees as possible. And even though I just look like I'm sitting hanging out, I'm actually lifted through my bottom shoulder blade, and I'm actively pulling this knee back, so I'm using my hips a little bit here to activate through or to draw the leg backwards. Okay, it's an inhale to prepare. On the exhale, you're gonna roll onto your bottom knee. As soon as you put weight into this bottom knee, you're gonna push into it to activate through the bottom hip. You're also gonna pull this top knee open. So I'm actually stretching through my groin here and trying to open the knees as much as possible. From there, I'm gonna lift through my bottom ribs so that I create this arch-like motion through the spine and stretch out through my top hand. Do your best to make this top hand as straight as possible. You're gonna hold for a nice big inhalation, and as you do, you're thinking of directing the breath into the rib cage and stretching the ribs as much as possible. And on the exhale, you're gonna come back to sitting down in that active position. So shoulder down, knees open. Take a breath. And roll onto the knees, lift the hips, stretch up and over. Inhale to hold the position. And exhale to open up and take a seat. I'm gonna do 2 more, 4 reps of everything today. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, roll, open those knees, really stretch them open as much as possible. Inhale to stay. Exhale to open. One more time, inhale to prepare. Exhale to lift. Reach up and over. Inhale to stay. And exhale to open up and take a seat. Let's go to the other side. So we're just gonna swing our feet around, set up in that Pilates stance again. So toes facing towards the end of the mat, second foot tucked in behind, room to roll onto the knee, arms stretch out and lifted, knees open. Here we go. Inhale, roll onto the bottom knee. Lift those hips maximally. Remember, we're side bending the spine. It's not a side plank, and stretching through our top fingertips. Inhale to stay. And open up. Again, I'm thinking about flaring that rib cage. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift. Lift the hips, stretch up and over. Hold for a nice big inhale. And exhale to open up. Again, inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift. Up and over. Inhale to stay. Exhale to open. Last one, 4 reps. Inhale to prepare. Exhale to lift, reach up and reach over. Inhale to stay. And exhale to open up. Okay, our next essential exercise to learn is called a breaststroke. We're just gonna do a breaststroke prep. It takes a while for people to find some of the smaller muscles in the upper back. We're so used to sitting at a desk or driving in our cars and having a pretty forward rounded position for our upper body. So finding the muscles that have to contract and shorten that help to lengthen through our upper back. Sometimes our brains have a difficult time finding those muscles because they've been stretched and they're a bit dormant. So give yourself some grace here as you try and figure out this next exercise. We're gonna come to laying down on our tummies. Whenever you're laying down on your tummy, we always think about getting our pelvis into a neutral position. So for most of us, we're gonna be quite arched when we come to laying down in this position. You wanna think about having a bit more of a neutral position. So for most of us, that means we have to slightly tuck our pelvis. Think about reaching your tailbone down or pulling your pubic bone towards your belly button, just a little bit. And you're gonna hold it in place there by engaging your buttocks slightly. Hands are gonna be above your shoulders, elbows resting down on the floor, and you're gonna look straight down at the mat. We begin this exercise by looking to the end of the mat and dropping our shoulder blades. So I'm actively drawing my shoulder blade down my back here in what we call the depressed position of the shoulder blades, or we can also say pull our shoulders away from our ears. So we're inhale, looking towards the end of the mat, shoulder blades down. Then I'm peeling my breastbone off the floor segmentally until about my lower ribs. And it really, I know, does not look like I'm doing much, but my upper back is working quite hard here. Inhale to stay. And then lengthen through the spine to look back down and just resting with the head hovering in this position. Inhale, shoulder blades down, look for the end of the mat. Exhale to peel the breastbone up a little higher. I'm making sure I'm not lifting through my back here. And I'd probably come up quite a bit higher if I did, but I'm just keeping my pelvis tucked in neutral, so I can't come up quite that high. Inhale to stay, and exhale to peel back down. 2 more times, setting the shoulder blades down. Take your inhales, you look to the end of the mat. Exhale to peel up. Inhale to stay. And exhale to peel back down. 1 more time. Shoulder blades down. Look to the end of the mat. Exhale to lift. Inhale to stay. And peel back down. Similar but slightly different. We're going to be having our hands hovering by our sides, and we're just going to focus on the shoulder blades here. So all I want you to do is actively stretch your fingertips to the mat, to the end of the mat, so towards your feet. Okay, they're hovering off the side of my body, but not super far away, quite close actually. And then all you're gonna do is squeeze your shoulder blades together. Now there's 2 things here. You're gonna feel your mid-back, so you're squeezing the shoulder blades, but I also want you to get the sense of drawing the head of the shoulder away from the mat, okay? Holding it here, just squeezing through the middle of your back, and release back down to hovering off the floor, but not touching the floor. We're gonna stretch to the end of the mat, keep the pelvis tucked in neutral, squeeze your shoulder blades together, and hold for 2, for 1, and relax. 2 more times, take a breath. Lift and squeeze, and hold for 2, for 1, and rest. One more time. Lift and squeeze and hold for 2, for 1, and rest. Slide the hands out into a T position. So now they're out to the sides of the shoulders, directly in line with the shoulders. I'm still looking at the mat, taking an inhale to prepare, squeezing my shoulder blades together. Lift your arms up nice and high. You can almost think of this like you're stretching through your chest. So not only are you squeezing through the middle of your back, you might feel a slight little stretch in your chest and shoulders in an active way. And lower back down. Inhale to prepare. Exhale, lift and squeeze through the middle of your back and hold for 2, for 1, and lower. 2 more times. Lift. Notice that as I'm lifting my arms up, I'm not allowing my lower back to arch, which it's surprising you'd think that that wouldn't be a thing, but it is. It's a thing. Lift and squeeze through the middle of your back, holding up for 2, for 1, and lower back down. You're going to slide your hands in underneath your shoulders and give yourself a push back into a shell position. Whenever we're doing those tummy down type exercises, you're going to find it really nice to sit back on what we call shell in yoga child's pose and just take a breath into your back and let it flex. So we're going to stretch up overhead, take a nice big breath, let your back stretch, let your rib cage stretch, sink down. Okay. From here, we're going to start to think about being in a seated position and really moving through our pelvis in the same way that we did in the hip roll earlier, but our body position is different. So the way we have to activate the muscles from our mind is a little bit different. So we're going to be sitting on the mat with our knees bent and feet flat on the floor. Now again, it's not uncommon for this to be a difficult position for lots of people to sit in due to tightness of the hip flexors. So you can certainly start by widening up your feet. That can sometimes alleviate that challenge of sitting in this position. You can also lift yourself up by sitting on a block. That can be helpful. It just creates a bit more space in the hips. Alternatively, if you don't have those opportunities, you can just place your hands around your knees and just hold yourself in this position. I don't have a problem with that. So I'm going to use that version. If you don't need that version, you can have your hands stretched out in front of you. Okay? You're sitting up nice and tall. Think about lengthening through the back of the body. We're going to take a nice big breath into our diaphragm here. And on the exhale, we're going to brace a little bit and we're going to start to curl through our pelvis. So kind of like cat stretch, right? You're going to roll through the pelvis. You can imagine your pelvis like a wheel and you're rolling back past your sitting bones until you feel like you've fully flexed your lower back. Again, no tension in the upper body here. There's a tendency to stretch through the neck and shrug through the shoulders. Keep your neck neutral and your shoulders relaxed, but I'm working quite hard through my abdominals to stay flexed and held in this position. I'm going to stay here for a breath, and then I'm going to slide my ribs down to initiate rolling forward and finishing sitting up nice and tall. I'm not pulling on my arms, but you could if you needed to. Inhale to sit up, brace, curl through the pelvis and roll back. This is called the half roll back. I might not have mentioned that. Helpful to know that term. Inhale to hold the position. Exhale, drop the ribs slightly, roll forward and finishing sitting up nice and tall. Inhale to lengthen. Exhale, scoop through the pelvis and roll back. Inhale to stay. Exhale, drop the ribs to roll forward and sit up. Lengthen, inhale. Exhale, curl through the pelvis and roll back. Inhale to stay. Exhale, drop through the ribs to roll forward and lengthen up through the spine. That's the half roll back. We're going to add just a little bit of a twist into our half roll back exercise. It's called obliques roll back. We're going to start sitting up. Again, you can hold if you still need to. An alternate version is to have your hands out in front of your chest. From here, you're going to initiate rolling back. You move past your sitting bones, flex through your lower back. Now, without your knees moving, you're going to stretch in one direction. One hand stays over the knee, but you're going to rotate your body and stretch and reach back behind you without falling backwards. And inhale, return to the start position. Ideally, your lower body stays very, very stable, and you're rotating through your upper body as much as you can. So you're looking to the knees to give you feedback that your lower body is not moving that much. Exhale, really squeeze and brace through the abdomen to try and squeeze your body around. That's 2. We're gonna do 4 of these on either side. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, rotate, reach for the back corner of the mat. Inhale, center. And return. Now ideally relaxing the upper body as you drop through the ribs to help yourself roll all the way back up to sitting. Stretching the legs out in front of you here now to make an L-sit position. So L-sit meaning I've basically made my body into the shape of an L. It's a helpful posture for you to know. In the L-sit position, we'll often say flex the feet. However, if you already have tight calves and hamstrings, holding the feet in a flex position just sort of aggravates the tension in the back. So as long as your feet are straight, so not flopped out to the side, I encourage you just to allow them to rest a little bit and not have to fully hold them in a flex position. We're trying to sit right up on our sitting bones. So you should feel sort of the bony parts of your buttocks sitting right down on the mat at the very top of the leg, and then sitting up nice and tall. From here, you're gonna stretch up to the ceiling and try and make yourself grow up as tall as you possibly can. You then can imagine your body is diving like a wave forward. So you're gonna reach with your fingertips, start to roll through your upper back and round through your spine to articulate and fold forward over the legs. In this position, I'm actively squeezing my thighs and squeezing my abdomen to try and draw my body down onto my thighs to stretch past my toes. I'm gonna hold here for a breath and fill up the back of my body again with air, and then start to stack the spine back up. So I'm sitting right back on my sitting bones, lengthening through the spine and reaching up to the ceiling. Inhale to stretch up. Exhale, reach forward, diving up and over the legs, really drawing my body as close to my thighs as possible by rounding through my lower back. Take a big breath into the back and then stacking the spine up. 1 vertebra at a time. 2 more times. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale to fold over. Inhale to stay. And exhale to stack the spine. Last one. Inhale, stretch up. Exhale to draw the body forward. Really stretch past the toes. Stay here for a breath. And stack the spine. Sit up nice and tall, relaxing the arms. Next up, we're going to change our shape into a lunge position. I use squat and lunge positions in most workouts to challenge our stability, not necessarily always for a strengthening exercise, but to challenge our stability. So we're going to come into a lunge position here, whereby you want to be kneeling on one knee and your foot is out in front of you. We check to make sure everything is in alignment with the hips. So we don't want our front foot to be necessarily wider than our hips or turned out. So we're looking for everything to be nice and straight and in alignment, coming directly out of the hip joint. Okay, from there, I'm also gonna think the top of my foot is down and my body is mostly stacked over my kneeling knee here. So the tendency is to wanna put more weight in the front foot to feel a bit more stable. But I'm gonna encourage you to try and find stability by engaging through your back hip, by squeezing these muscles and pressing the hip forward and finding stability through this knee, okay? From here, we're gonna do a side bend stretch again. So you're gonna stretch out to the side with the arm on the kneeling knee. Press the hip forward until you feel a stretch through the front of the hip. And then you're gonna gently lean away from that knee until you feel the stretch run up through the hip and then through the side of your body and out through the rib cage. You're gonna hold here for a breath, asking the rib cage to stretch. And exhale to return to the stop position and let the arm come down. It's an inhale to prepare. Tuck the pelvis, press the hip forward and stretch up. Exhale to open up to the side. Hold for a breath. Open the ribs. And return to the stop position. One more time. Press the hip forward, stretch up. Reach over. Hold for a breath and open up. Okay, I'm just gonna spin to go to the other side. So I'm just gonna spin around on my mat, get in a good alignment again and get straight into it. So I'm circling out to the side, tucking my pelvis, activating through the hip, pressing the hip forward, stretching up and over on the exhale. Hold for a breath and look for expansion. Open up to the start position and open the arm out to the side. Inhale, circle up, press the hip forward. Exhale to reach over. Inhale to stay. Exhale to open. Just one more time here. We're going to circle up, press the hip forward, reach over. Inhale to stay. And exhale to open. Now I move into tall kneeling, another really common shape. We're going to be in this tall kneeling position, so both knees are down. The tendency on tall kneeling, because our knees are bent, and due to tightness through the front of the hip, is to sit in the back a little bit, meaning like overly arching the back. So when we're in the tall kneeling position, it's an active position. You do have to slightly tuck the pelvis, which means you have to sort of turn the buttocks on like 2 out of 10, just a little bit of tone, just to hold the pelvis in a neutral position. We're just gonna hold this shape and think about how our activation is stabilizing through our pelvis as we move our upper body independently from our lower body through twist. So we're inhale in a stop position. On the exhale, you're gonna take this upper body position and rotate. In this shape, you should feel like you're basically wringing out a towel in your waist with your ab muscles around your torso. Okay, so you're squeezing through your abs, not allowing your hips to move, holding for a lengthening breath, and returning to the start position. We'll do one on the other side, and then we're gonna add pulses. So it's inhale, exhale to rotate, just holding this position, squeezing, wringing out the towel at your waist. Hold for an inhale, and return to the start position. Let's add pulses for extra squeeze. So we're gonna rotate on the exhale. You're gonna release a little bit and squeeze air out, push air out, push air out, return. Exhale to rotate and pulse, push air out and return. One more time, rotate and bounce. 3, 2, 1, and return. Exhale to rotate and bounce. 3, 2, 1, and return. That's a tall kneeling position with an exercise called spine twist. Most of our twist in our body comes through our upper back, our mid and upper back, not through our lower back. So even though it feels like you're squeezing the waist, you really want to think about how your shoulders are really rotating on top of your hips, really similar to golf if you've ever gotten to do that. Your hips are relatively stable, but your upper back is creating most of the rotation. That's an important thing to consider when you're doing a lot of exercises and you're trying to get more twist, that you're thinking about how it's coming from your back, upper back, as opposed to your lower back. We don't want to be excessively twisting the lower back. Hopefully this has given you some good ideas as to some of the initial exercises in the workout. Feel free to jump into another quick start workout to learn more exercises or more principles, or you can now take some of this repertoire and jump into our regular feed of workouts.